This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Stick around to the end of the video for a special offer they're making available through my channel. Disintegration beta. Now, I am going to tell you at the very top that I don't like this. I don't like it at all, in fact. It's really not fun, and it has lots of issues, and I think they're not issues that can be fixed because they're design choices. It does come out this year. There is time to make changes to this game, don't get me wrong, but I think there's some very core things here that will not change that I think are really, you know, holding this back big time. Let me caveat all this by saying that, you know, this is actually the brainchild of the co-creator of the Halo franchise, and he went and set up a new studio called V1 Interactive. I was actually on a call with him recently. I was invited to join that call with a whole bunch of other people, and we got to ask him questions. He's a really nice guy. His team, I'm sure, are cool people. I believe that this is a passionate team of developers who have worked hard over a number of years to create a good game. This isn't a case of, like, you know, dirty devs putting out some crappy product, it's garbage and whatever. I don't feel like that. I just feel like they have tried to make a game that I do not feel at this point is really firing on all cylinders, and I think that it's a pretty tough road to get it to the point where it might really like click and be like, oh yeah, cool, this is great. So let me explain why that is. Disintegration is a game where you control a grav bike. You're actually floating above combat at all times. You have 6 degrees of freedom. There's a dash button so you can, you know, move around a bit more quickly. You have some basic weapons that you can fire, and there's also like an alternative weapon as well. And you also are controlling other units. You have a small squad with you. You can control where they move to, what they are shooting at, and they also have abilities you can queue up. So you can press 1, for example, and then target something, and then right click, and then boom, they'll use their ability. Stuff like concussion grenades, or, you know, seeker missiles, or a slow field, or whatever. So there's a different mix of sort of like, you know, support based defensive stuff with offensive abilities, etc, etc. There is a single player component to this game that is not covered in this video because I've not played it yet. I spoke to the developer. He said we can expect a 10-hour campaign-ish. It's going to have a compelling story, a fully sort of fleshed out world, all that stuff. Cool, great. I look forward to that, to be honest with you, because I can actually see already how this gameplay might work in a single player setting. During the tutorial, I was getting a feel for the movement and the strategy of telling my troops where to go and what to fire at. It was a bit one-dimensional. It never really approached true depth, I would say. But I was like, cool, if I had to do this for a few hours with a banging story and a cool world, I'd be down for that. That's fine. I can talk about the multiplayer. I've played about 5 hours of it. It's the technical test running at the moment. It's got 2 maps and 2 game modes. It's really off the mark, I think. It's just, I really struggled to get through that 5 hours, and I definitely don't want to go back and play any more. There's a lot of problems with it. Let's start from the top. Number 1, you are controlling a grav bike that moves extraordinarily slowly. I cannot explain to you how frustrating it is to play this game and die and then have to make it back to the action. It's like a MOBA, but worse. Like, it just takes so long to get back to where things are happening. You know, you want to try and get from point A to point B across the map. It takes forever. It's just painful. And you've got this sense of freedom that comes from being on this grav bike, but it's just not realized in the speed that the game is playing at. More than that though, just the experience of floating above a battlefield kind of really removes a lot of the stakes. I sort of tweeted out earlier, you know, it looks like there's nothing at risk in this gameplay, and you really feel like there's not a lot at risk as well, just given that, like, the kinesthetic link between player and sort of action is shattered. Like, there's just, it really does feel like you're playing God mode, And you've kind of, you know, the thing where you can enter a cheat and then you kind of float around the battlefield. It kind of feels like that, and not in a good way. You know, it just doesn't. The grav bikes all have different sort of stats associated with them, but they all feel the same in terms of like their mechanics. Some of them go faster than others, but they all feel identical to drive. And I feel that's not a good outcome, I think, for something like this. That's number one. Number two, when combat begins, it's meant to be this kind of strategic action hybrid, where you're meant to be kind of shooting at the other grav bikes while also controlling your troops on the ground, etc. I think the whole model falls apart in the chaos of multiplayer because you are just constantly looking around for the next, you know, grav bike that's shooting at you. Your field of view is really limited, by the way, so you're constantly having to look around. There's no mini-map. The HUD stuff telling you what, you know, where you're being shot from it works, I guess, but you just feel like you have blinkers on the whole time, and then you're sort of expected to simultaneously control your units on the ground while also dogfighting in the sky against other grav bikes. It doesn't work. You end up just kind of ignoring your troops too much and shooting at stuff, and it becomes a bit mindless. You do use your abilities, don't get me wrong. However, even that's frustrating because there's like a bit of a delay for when the abilities kick in because the units kind of need to like get into position or catch up and then use it. Like imagine playing a MOBA or Overwatch, but there was like a 1 to 2 second delay on when your abilities would activate. Like that would suck, right? Yes, it does. It absolutely sucks. It sucks here. I think that class design is interesting aesthetically. There are some crews that you can sort of select from. They have different stats, they have different looks, they have different abilities. That's great. I really like the work that they've done there. I think those crews are cool. However, most of them are terrible to use. You know, for example, there's one that's like a support class that fires these javelins, and they are actual sort of like skill shots. They're not hit scan, which means that they have like an arc and they have bullet drop and travel time. It's so hard to hit something that has 6 degrees of freedom and a dash button when you're firing these javelin things. And those javelins do almost no damage, by the way. It's not like big return on investment on that. There's like 6 or 7 different crews in this game, but within the first few hours, I saw everyone gravitating towards 2 of the crews because they were the only ones with sustained throughput firepower. I have to say there are some really big challenges with just basic weapon design and in this game. A lot of the weapons are really small magazined weapons, which means you spend a ludicrous amount of time reloading. There was actually an IGN first gameplay bit that showed off some single player campaign, which looked okay, but all the comment section is just spammed with like, this is Reload Simulator 2019 or 2020, whatever. And I was like, well, maybe we'll see. Maybe this person was just reloading too much. No, your magazines are too small. Your weapons do not do enough damage. You are constantly reloading, man. It's just, firefights are not fun when you're spending literally 50 to 60% of your time reloading, or when you want to be able to take something down but you're just out of bullets, magazine's empty and you're reloading. Like it just happens too much, man. The calibration of enemy health versus damage per bullet is not correct, and it's bad. The game modes as well are super generic, and they're not really like leveraging the action strategy hybrid. You know, they're just literally control, stand on a point and get points, and you know, something like capture the flag, bring a thing from over there and drop it over there. Like that's it. You could have done something with these multiplayer modes that actually utilizes that sort of like commanding of units in a more intelligent way, and they didn't. So I played about 5 hours of this, and as I said, I don't want to play any more of it. We don't have a release date yet. It is possible that this game improves a lot before when they eventually release it, and I really respect the fact that they're doing a nice early technical test. However, as I've said, most of my issues with this game were design-based, and they're very deeply baked in. The grav bikes, combat just doesn't feel good. It feels just unsatisfying. The sound design as well, it feels so canned and bottled and sort of like early 2000s. This game really does feel like a game that belongs in the past. And that sounds really terrible, but it does. Like it does not feel contemporary, which is a real shame. I definitely recommend being cautious with this one. I'm not counting it out yet. It's a long time to launch. Things could improve, but I will tell you, after 5 hours, I definitely was not keen to play more, and was quite concerned about how this product will eventually launch. I'm hopeful for the single player side of it. I could definitely do a cool 10 hours of great storytelling with some, you know, sort of mindless action strategy combat. I could really not do any more of this multiplayer. Anyway, that's it. Have a look at it. The technical test is just wrapping up. There'll probably be another one before launch. There'll be more previews and stuff. Keep an eye out for it. Make up your own mind, but as I said, probably not the safest pre-order of the year. Anyway, that's it, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll try and answer them in the comments below, and see you next time. Bye-bye. One thing I would recommend to you very strongly is Squarespace. Now, a lot of people ask me for advice on how to get into like games, media stuff and reviewing and all that sort of stuff. And my answer is always the same. You have to start writing. Like, writing is the foundation of all of it. Even if you want to have a YouTube channel, being able to write really helps. And if you want to set up your own sort of gaming blog, then Squarespace is exactly what you might need. Squarespace has a vast range of templates and customizable tools, making it super simple to create a professional looking website in just moments. It has advanced features like being able to schedule your posts, e-commerce stuff so you can sell merchandise if you wanted to. There's a comment section you can add to it so you can begin engaging your community. There's all sorts of stuff on there. It's the best means of building a website available on the internet right now. Anything you want to do in life, a website's probably going to help, and Squarespace is the place to start. Getting started is super simple. Just visit squarespace.com, and when you want to register and get your own domain set up and all that stuff, use squarespace.com/skillup to get a discount on all of that. Thank you very much to Squarespace for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it.